Hello, thanks for clicking on my video. Today I'm going to review, install, unbox this modular Molle panel system from CarTrimHome. Just going to see if it's good for day-to-day use, maybe using for a picnic, see if it would make a Costco run easier or more difficult, and then see if it is good for something that I love to do, car camping. So we'll start with an unboxing. The whole system came in 3 separate boxes, as you see here. In this particular system that I got came with a table that mounts underneath the shelf that goes across the back. So this is the table. One thing I will say is everything came very well packaged. None of the items were damaged at all. This table, it's a nice little camping table. It's a bit low, but you know, when you're in your camping chairs, it's actually at a good height. These poles hold up this little cross member. That's good for hanging dishes or pots, pans, coffee cups, stuff like that when you're out camping. Here is just an overview of the different things that come together with the table. Instructions, cushion strips, and the brackets, and then hardware. So here are the other 2 boxes. The first box is going to be the shelf. Again, very well packaged. All of the hardware came in those pink bags. Here's an overview of everything that came together with the shelf. These are just the stabilizing cross members for the shelf itself. Then there's more of these cushions that go in between all of the areas where it's metal on metal, so to prevent rattling when you're driving. The third box is going to be the Molle panels that go over the windows. This also came with the instructions that applied to the Molle panels and the shelf as well. So you have the top hangers, the Molle panels themselves, more of that cushion tape, some spacers. Now we'll get into the installation. Step 1 done. You just grab those little knobs, turn it clockwise, and they pop right out. So the next step is going to require the only tool that isn't included, which is going to be any type of a flathead screwdriver, just to pop out that little plastic panel. From here on out, you should be able to use the provided tools. That was my goal, just to follow the instructions as written in the instruction manual and use the tools provided. So you'll remove this bolt and also the bolt that holds on the coat hanger up above. These are the 2 separate screws that will come out. Next, the screwdriver that is provided. Remove the screw that is inside this hole. There is a risk of it falling inside that panel, so that's why I got some leather and pliers and pulled it out. Once the screw's out, it just pops right off. You'll have 2 spacers. The larger spacer goes towards the front, and the smaller spacer goes towards the back. This is a stabilizer that goes around the front spacer inside the opening. On mine, it's separate, different from the instruction. The larger, the fatter side went towards the top. Make sure you put good pressure to get it all the way in there. So as far as the hangers up on top, right applies to the right side of the vehicle as you're looking towards the front. One thing I did notice here is there's a gap. So there is a small lip on the inside right there. It's for the headliner because there's a little bit of a space. I decided to remove it just to cut it off. It comes right off, but that's not necessary. But now with that little tab removed, it will sit flush on the metal hanger. So the hardware provided is good. They provide you with a lock washer and a flat washer. So lock washer goes on first, then a flat washer. Put one bolt up on the top just to hold it in place. Then I moved on and just got it sturdy with the lower two. One thing that I did realize is these hardware will just go flying all over the place. So I got a metallic plate. It's a good investment. I think $3 at Harbor Freight. Then I just put in the rest and tightened it down. Then I'll go through this at high speed. This is just going to be the same exact thing on the other side. As I'm installing here, the one thing that I did notice is the stabilizer plate that goes in the front opening was very tight. I had to push it in quite hard. So, each panel might be different in each car, but it was quite stiff. And here's what it looks like just with the window panels in. Now we'll move on to the shelf. So one thing I didn't realize at first was I was setting this up incorrectly. I was so confused why the bolt holes weren't lining up. It's because that is incorrect. They should butt together flush. Those fluted sides should go towards the ends like this. So if you have any challenges lining up the holes, that might be it. But once it's correct, it's very easy to identify which stabilizer bar goes where because the holes will line up. Then there's several screws. I just put them all in hand tight, and I tightened them in once it was installed in the truck. So the next step will be installing the braces that will hold up the shelf. I like this location because it puts the shelf just about even with like passengers' shoulders or the top of the rear seats. I will mention now, one thing that I forgot to do here and I had to come back to do was install the cushion tape between the brace and the Molle panel. So make sure you do that. I have seen some people install this shelf through the rear passenger doors because it's a bit tricky getting it in this way. You have to put the seats forward and bring it back up. I may have scraped some of the plastic on the sides. So here I'm installing the cushion on top of the brace. And that is essential as well because the shelf is going to sit on top of the brace, metal on metal. But please don't forget to also install the cushion tape between the brace and the Molle panel as well. Another thing I'll mention here, I'll highlight it again later, but I decided to use wing nuts to to attach the braces to the Molle panels because it makes it easier in the future to adjust the height of the shelf. But this is what it looks like to have the shelf installed right there. These two bolts are the ones that I exchanged for wing nuts or wing bolts, I guess. So now that the shelf is installed, we can install the brackets that go underneath the shelf that will hold up the table. But since the metal table is going inside the metal brackets, you want to make sure it's very well covered with that cushion tape. So you can see the location there, 2 off the side and right in the middle. So now we'll break down the table and install it. So those poles and the cross member go store underneath the table. You'll see later what the issue here is they can rattle. So I had to find a solution for that. So here there is a direction that you should install or slide in the table. Those notches should be towards the rear because there will be 2 eye bolts that will lock it in, and they should match up with those notches inside the table. So I was able to, for the most part, install the entire system with the provided tools other than the Leatherman or a simple flathead screwdriver. So this is what it looks like as you're driving down the road. The rear visibility is not blocked in any way as far as I can see. So does it improve a Costco run? I was a little bit concerned that it might actually limit the space that I had for cargo. But what I think I realized is that it does add to it. There are some limitations, as you'll see, but it does add to it. So this box I found to be a little bit too tall. So if you are using this for a Costco run, you have to be selective on the boxes that you choose. So up on top, you are limited a bit in the height. So on top of the shelf, on the sides, you have about 10 inches. In the middle of the shelf, you have about maybe 15 inches. But as far as the depth as well, in total, you have about 15 inches of depth on that shelf. But as you see here, in between those cross members is just about 13 inches. So that box must be about 12 and a half inches wide. But below the shelf, I measured about 19 inches high. So you can see that big bundle of toilet paper and paper towels was able to fit sideways, no problem. So overall, I think it does actually add to your cargo space unless you have something really bulky. And if you do put a box up on top, it could block slightly your rear view mirror.
In the front. And folks, something about turbo engines, because a lot of people will be concerned.
So this is where I try to give attention a bit to the rattling. So you heard some of that rattling
do it, you're
before
gonna
as I
start
was
the
driving. So
And
here I'm
then
just trying to give
the
attention to some of that
engine
rattling
comes
with
to the car.
that tape. I
Make
gave
sure
you
you don't bother
plenty
them. You don't
of
bother them.
adhesive
And keep
cushion
those
tape that you
filters
can
clean. That
use
is the
to
lifeblood of
try
that
to
of the
mitigate any
battery.
type of
Now,
rattles.
the only difference between this and the Tacoma, if you option a Forerunner with the additional auxiliary switches that are meant for you to use them to power up aftermarket accessories that you want to switch, changes it down 12 volts,
And after
charges
a
the
few
auxiliary
hours
battery, and
following
powers the
installing that
entire
tape, I
car.
haven't heard any
And the ones
rattles.
that have the auxiliary ones, they added a whole
So
bunch
next,
of
moving
things.
on, we're gonna
That also
see
made it
how
allows
the
exclusive.
table and Molle panel system function during a picnic, or one thing that I like to do, car camping. So again, assembly is very simple. And you can see here the height is low, but when you're in a camping chair, it's just fine. So now we're going to get ready for some car camping. I was unsure if I would be able to move the shelf to a higher level in this situation, but I was. It was a bit uncomfortable, but it's not too hard. Especially with the table out, it's very lightweight. And this is also where it comes in handy having wing bolts instead of the other Allen bolts, so you can just do it by hand. If you have a Forerunner and don't know about these Luna bed mats, they're pretty great. I was pretty concerned that it would take up too much space inside, either hit my knees or just be in the way. But in my experience, it wasn't. It was actually pretty nice being able to hang things from the Molle panels or the shelf. I can think of several things that I can put up on that shelf that I can get throughout the night instead of having to reach over to the front seat or something like that. This little fan light from eBay was a pretty good investment for car camping. And it's a good match for the shelf. So I think for my needs, it's a great fit all around. In the top position, it does block your view a bit, so I would suggest moving it down. But if you're interested, check out CarTrimHome. I'll have a link in the description as well as a discount code. But please feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comments.